Before you skip this video, before your thumb moves to the next distraction, let me tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. Right now, at this very moment, there is a version of your life that you were meant to live, and you are not living it. Not because you are incapable, not because you're unlucky, but because somewhere along the way, you started accepting less than what you are truly worth. Most people will never admit this to themselves. They will keep scrolling, keep distracting their minds, keep convincing themselves that tomorrow will be the day they finally focus on their life. But tomorrow rarely comes for people who keep negotiating with their potential. Look around. Every day, people wake up with the same dreams they had 5 years ago, the same goals, the same plans, yet nothing changes. Not because they don't want a better life, but because they never learned the one truth that separates the focused from the lost. Your life will never rise above the value you place on yourself. If you treat your time like it's cheap, the world will waste it. If you treat your focus like it's unlimited, distractions will steal it. And if you treat your potential like it's optional, you will slowly watch your best years disappear without ever becoming who you were capable of being. But here's the part most people never hear. The moment you decide to value yourself, truly value yourself, everything begins to change. Your focus becomes sharper. Your standards become higher. And the things that once controlled your attention suddenly lose their power over you. So if you have ever felt like you're capable of more, if there's a quiet voice inside you that knows you were meant for something greater, then stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the one message that finally forces you to stop living small and start becoming the person you were always meant to be. Let's start with a truth that many people spend their entire lives avoiding. The greatest limitation in most lives is not a lack of opportunity. It is not a lack of intelligence. And it is certainly not a lack of potential. The real limitation is that people quietly learn to live below their own value. Think about how that happens. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides, today I will underestimate myself. It doesn't work like that. It happens slowly, subtly, over time. A comment here, a rejection there, a moment where someone doubts you, a moment where you doubt yourself, and little by little, your standards begin to lower, your expectations shrink, your vision becomes smaller. Eventually, you begin negotiating with your own potential. You start telling yourself things like, maybe this is enough, or maybe I am asking for too much. And that's where the real danger begins. Because the moment you accept less than what you are capable of, the world will happily agree with you. The world does not argue with the standards you set for yourself. It reflects them. If you treat your time like it has no value, people will waste it. If you treat your attention like it's unlimited, distractions will take it. If you treat your potential like it's optional, life will slowly adjust to that smaller version of you. And before you realize it, you're living a life that feels comfortable on the surface, but quietly unfulfilling underneath. Now, here's the important psychological shift that very few people make. Valuing yourself is not about arrogance. It is not about believing you are better than other people. It's about recognizing the responsibility you have toward your own potential. You are not given your abilities by accident. Your curiosity, your ideas, your ambitions, those are signals. They are indications of something inside you that is meant to grow. But growth only happens when you stop treating your potential like a suggestion and start treating it like a commitment. When you truly value yourself, something subtle but powerful changes in the way you move through the world. You stop chasing validation from people who never understood your vision to begin with. You stop shrinking your ambitions just so others feel more comfortable around you. You stop apologizing for wanting more from your life. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to protect your energy because you realize something that most people learn far too late. Every minute of your life is an investment. And like any investment, it either compounds into something meaningful or it slowly disappears into things that never mattered. Look at the average day for most people. Hours spent scrolling through information that adds no real value. Conversations that revolve around complaints instead of solutions. attention given to people who drain energy rather than inspire growth. None of these things seem destructive in the moment, but over time they quietly reshape your life. This is why valuing yourself requires a level of awareness that most people never practice. You have to start asking different questions. Is this conversation worth my attention? Is this habit helping me become the person I want to be? Is this environment supporting my growth or limiting it? Those questions may seem simple, but they are powerful because they force you to confront a reality that many people avoid. If you want a life that reflects your true potential, you cannot continue making decisions that belong to a smaller version of yourself. And this is where personal responsibility becomes unavoidable. At some point, you have to stop waiting for someone else to recognize your worth. You have to stop hoping that circumstances will magically align. You have to make a decision that your time, your focus, and your potential are too valuable to be wasted. Once that decision is made, your behavior begins to change. You become more selective about where your attention goes. You become more disciplined about how you spend your time. You become less interested in approval and more committed to progress. And interestingly, when you reach that point, something unexpected happens. The same people who once overlooked your value begin to notice the difference, not because you demanded recognition, but because you started living in alignment with your potential. That is the quiet power of self-value. It does not need to announce itself. It simply reshapes your actions, and those actions reshape your life. So if there is one thought I want you to carry with you after this moment, it is this: the life you experience will always rise or fall to the level of value you place on yourself. The moment you decide that your potential deserves your full commitment is the moment everything begins to change. Once you begin to recognize your own value, the next realization becomes unavoidable. If your time and potential truly matter, then your focus becomes one of the most valuable resources you possess. Focus is not simply a productivity tool. It is not just something you use to complete tasks or meet deadlines. Focus is the mechanism through which your life takes shape. Whatever consistently receives your attention will eventually shape your character, your habits, and ultimately your future. And yet, look at the world around us. We are living in an age where attention is constantly being pulled in every possible direction. Notifications, endless content, opinions from strangers, and an overwhelming stream of information compete for your mind every minute of the day. Most people assume this is harmless. They treat distraction like a normal part of modern life. But psychologically, distraction carries a much deeper cost. Every time your attention is divided, your ability to think deeply weakens. Your ability to make intentional decisions decreases, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin living reactively rather than deliberately. In other words, you stop directing your life and start responding to whatever demands your attention the loudest. This is why protecting your focus is not simply about being disciplined. It is about reclaiming control over your direction. When someone truly values their future, they begin to understand something important. Not everything deserves their attention. In fact, most things do not. Attention is finite. Your mental energy is limited. And if you spend that energy responding to every distraction that appears in front of you, you will have very little left for the things that actually move your life forward. This is why the most effective individuals develop a different relationship with focus. They do not treat it casually. They treat it as a form of personal authority. They become intentional about what enters their mind. They are selective about where their time goes. They understand that saying yes to everything is often the fastest way to lose control of your own priorities. Think about how often people confuse activity with progress. A person can spend an entire day busy, constantly checking messages, jumping between tasks, reacting to every small demand. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted, yet nothing meaningful has truly been accomplished. Focus changes that completely. Focus requires you to slow down long enough to ask a very simple question. What actually matters right now? Ow! That question may sound basic, but it has profound consequences, because once you identify what truly matters, You also have to confront everything that does not. And that is where discipline becomes necessary. Protecting your focus often means disappointing distractions. It means turning away from habits that offer instant gratification but provide no long-term value. It means creating space for deep thinking in a world that constantly pushes for shallow attention. This is not easy. In fact, it can feel uncomfortable at first. Your mind is used to constant stimulation. When you begin